fans and supporters of this kind of music, so it was important to have it here. And I guess we'll start off by introducing, everyone could just introduce themselves.
Tony Redman, I wrote this book, Straight Edge, Clear-Headed Hardcore Punk History, and these are the people that were interviewed, some of the people that were interviewed for it. Boom.
My name's Dan O'Mahony. I've done several, I guess, relevant to this genre of bands and label, and feel like I've known most of the people in this room most of my life, so I guess this makes sense.
Cool. Jonathan Nastis, DYS and Slapshot.
Vic Martin. I've worked at Revelation Records and Red Distro for nearly 20 years, and I have a zine and a record label called Silverlake.
My name's Roa. I sing for Justice League and I'm in 2 weeks sober.
So the first thing I'll say is, and I like to just get everyone's attention by saying this, is that when I put this up, when Tony sent me the graphic for this event, and people, I do a website called No Echo, and there's a lot of younger people on there, or a lot of younger readers that on social media that send me messages, and usually positive messages, thanks for doing the website, or here's my band, check it out. And one of the things that happened right away when the flyer for this went up was, why is so-and-so on the panel? They're not straight edge. This book is called Straight Edge. Why is so-and-so, or why are these people, shouldn't everyone be straight edge on the panel? And I don't agree with that. Now, Tony, it was Tony's choice to have, who he had on the panel, but.
Blame me.
Yeah. So the first question, because this is such a hot button thing, hot button issue in this world, who is straight edge, who isn't, bands that reunite, who sing about straight edge, and who aren't straight edge, or not all of them are straight edge, or the singer might be, and the other guys aren't, or all this kids. So, Tony, when you were starting to come up with the idea of doing the book, was that something that entered your mind, the controversy of this subject, and how some people would be really pissed off about it?
You know what? It did, and my thing was like, man, I don't know if I should do this, because there was something bazillion points presented to me, like, why don't you do a book about straight edge? And I was like, well, that'd be real, that'd be easy to do, and it'd be fun. And I was like, well, I'm Silverlake or whatever. So I was like, I don't know, should I do this? I was a little conflicted. And I don't know, I called a guy named Tim McMahon, who was like my best friend in high school, still one of my best friends. He was like 40 years old.
And who's Tim McMahon?
Oh, he was in bands like Mouthpiece, that Search now, Against Tide, and he did the blog Double Cross. And to me, he's like, he's remained straight edge his whole life. And I know that at one point when we were kids, when I stopped being straight edge, we had a little rift like kids do. We're grown men, we don't care. And I basically asked him, like, been presented with this idea, what do you think? He's like, I think you're the guy to do it. Like, you should be the one. I was like, do you think it matters if I'm not straight edge? And even he was like, who cares? We're all grown up. Little did we know. Yeah, it's been kind of an issue, hot button issue, and to me it was more about, observing it as a subculture. It doesn't really matter if you are or you're not, and I had people who I didn't even know from a hole in the ground send me messages on Facebook like, well, I know that you're not straight anymore, you're a sellout, and I'm not going to buy your book. I'm like, no one got a gun to your head, it's fine. Like, you can sell your copy where you black out everyone's not straight anymore. FBI file, that'll please you. But yeah, I had, it was like this big, but then once the ball started to roll and the book was being announced, then it was just like a snowball going down a hill. And I can't control it, that's other people's opinions on the subject. But as far as I'm concerned, like, we're just observing a culture here. It's not like who is and who isn't. That's my take on it.
Yeah. Since you were the one that some people are questioning, why is
Cat's out of the bag.
Cat was out of the bag, I want to say 26 years ago. Here's what I would say, and I thought about this once. If you were to put your life in a pie chart, think about your enthusiasms, your passions, say that they're all sincere, that you're always a genuine person, and you're into what you're into. I am 50 years old. I claimed the term straight edge for 9 of them. Straight edge is outnumbered in my life. All right. I grew up in a family that came to this country for Irish pubs, to open Irish pubs, and I run Irish pubs amongst other things. My favorite writers, many of my favorite artists, their work is crap and their work doesn't exist. without their struggles with chemicals and things like that. Will I ever look at anybody and say that these things you can put into your body are healthy? Not necessarily. Will I say that they're interesting? Will I say that they've taken me some places I'm glad I've been that I wouldn't have been without them? Yeah, I will. So I have never, ever, ever, ever misrepresented my time in this music, my time after this music, my time before this music, or my opinion of this music. But I contextualize it, and I think that's necessary and mature. It represents a finite number of years to me. It's easy to romanticize. I miss some of those times. I do not buy into reliving those times for a high paycheck, which I think everybody knows what I'm referring to, and I'm sure that'll come up today. But that's sort of where I stand on it.
I don't know. For me, I was obviously straight edge when I did bands. I work in advertising and marketing, which is sort of like a Mad Men business. So I sort of chose greed. I was never a big drinker when I sort of broke edge. I probably threw away 50 drinks into plants and bars in Japan and bars in Europe for every 2 sips I took. And I'm not saying that to sort of justify it, but like alcohol was a big thing to me. When we went back and reunited, I didn't feel I could do it without, you know. It was actually a nice reason to sort of say, fuck it, like I don't care, you know, sort of further along in my career, I don't care what people think. Also, society moved, like when I'm not sort of justifying sort of playing around with drinking for a little bit, but like when I started working, like sobriety wasn't part of our sort of like cultural conversation. If you said you didn't drink, people assumed you were like, you had a problem with drinking, you know, sort of, I sort of, right or wrong, insecurity not felt it was career limiting, so I sort of faked drinking for a long time. And then I sort of felt, you know, when we were united in like 2010, I'm going to sort of go back into not drinking it.
But that wasn't discussed within the band. Like, we're going to do this again, and we're going to go back to how we were and not drink. This was just
It was a decision for me.
Personal.
I sort of felt like I couldn't get up on stage and perform those songs.
Yeah.
You know, with even the minimal amount of alcohol I ever touched, right? The only decision we made as a band is like, we only speak for ourselves. You know, like, I don't speak for the dozen dozens in the band, you know.
I think it's ridiculous to say that Tony's not on straight edge if he's not straight edge anymore. The only thing that was, to me, is important is that you were part of the subculture. And, I mean, that kind of militant viewpoint is everyone at the record label has been straight edge, shows straight edge. Because should only straight edge people be allowed to come to the shows? I mean, where does that bullshit end? There's enough room in this tiny subculture for all of us.
And it's not like there's a huge amount of people who want to write about this stuff.
No.
That's the other thing.
We got what we could.
That said, I sort of think the overarching message is more important than it kind of ever was.
And not to reiterate what they say, and I won't, but I think also another important idea to keep in context is that straight edge, first of all, it's just a song, and second of all, just because you don't drink or don't smoke doesn't mean you're. My mother doesn't drink or smoke, and she's not straight edge. I claim that only because I was young, and it's a really convenient definition. But then when you get older, you go, you straight edge, you go, you tell me, I don't drink or smoke, and I don't do these things, and then you start to let other people decide, because it's not really in your hands. You can't really control what other people do. You can only control what you do or don't do. So I don't still drink or smoke, but I don't know if I identify as much as I did when I was a young kid. It's better to say, I don't know if I am, but I try to be polite. I'd rather say now, instead of saying that I'm straight edge, that I'm polite, that I try to be nice to everybody, that I'm more, I try to make everyone equal. I think that's more important to me now.
And I guess what was, from the age group here, I would assume that it was Minor Threat, right? What was the introduction to the idea of straight edge in the first place? What was your introduction to
I
it?
think probably especially amongst the Silverbeers, the 3 boys up here, I'm going to say, yeah, what always happened to Minor Threat. That's just a chronological necessity. Yeah. We're all old enough to claim it before. Probably. Unless, I mean, I could be wrong. Did someone else put you on the trail?
No, it's kind of funny because the weekend that they played, 2 weeks before, we went to go see Circle Jerks, and my friend got his teeth punched out. And my mom, he was staying at my house, so he woke up and he's like, ah! So she said, you can't go to the next show, and the next show was in Minor Threat at Rollerworks, and it was on, grew up in a Catholic family, it was on Easter weekend. So that's the reason I missed them. It's funny because people lie about every band. Oh, I saw TSOL in there, but no one ever lies about Minor Threat. So like, there's the one thing So
I used to lie about Minor Threat. No, here's a true story. When Minor Threat hit California, I was obsessed with it. I hope I'm not wrong. I was obsessed with English punk. If you look at old uniform choice pictures, I'm the lone one who's still wearing a leather jacket and has long black hair. You know, and MDC sort of started drawing me into the American thing and everything else. Then when Minor hit Threat, it was like a shock thing. But when they were out here, it was '83. They did that Disney trip and everything else, right? Parking lot punk. Didn't go inside the Minor Threat show. No. Was every show in California? No. Later that year, so these guys played at that one? Oh. For a few years I claimed, I was at that show. I was not inside that show. I was a Minor Threat fan about 6 months.
It's like going to the Last Supper and just hanging out outside.
Somebody's got to be in the kitchen. I mean, yeah, no, so I mean, it was like, for a few years, geographically, I was able to claim having been there at 401, but no, I caught it after the fact.
What did you guys think of the second wave of straight edge bands by that time? Because you have been already part of the scene for years now, like Youth of Today and that kind of stuff.
Well, I will say this. This is where John gets his due. There was Minor Threat, and Minor Threat was very important. Minor Threat is the originator. But as far as the aesthetics and the way you approach to get to Minor Threat, it was all Brotherhood 12-inch. Brotherhood 12-inch, I say it's so great that you bought it and there wasn't even song titles on the back side. You just bought it because of the pictures and the layout. So the aesthetics that you get from it, you say like, oh, they're young, they're not the best looking guys, they're not the worst looking guys, but they dressed a certain way and they look like they mean business. SSD was the same way, but SSD, if everyone looks like, none of us hardly look like SSD except for maybe Dan. They're big, they're like,
One of them. Only one of them.
but like you look at DYS and you can tell by the way they're statued, they just look like one of us. They're like, we always say they're the East Coast version of America's Hardcore. And so that's where it starts. The second wave, when you see the second wave, you're thinking like, I've seen this before. At least for me, I was thinking, I've seen this before. I've seen this in DYS. So when you see all, it's great. I always say, if Youth of Today, if I was 14, they would have changed my life. If I was 16, I would have liked them. But at that period of time in that genre, I already went through a couple cycles, so their importance was lost on me. And it ended me saying like, oh, it's DYS being Antidote. And it happens to everybody, even the most important bands. You start saying, oh, I've seen this before. Instead of DYS and Minor Threat, you say, they sound too much like No for an Answer or Slapshot. You know, you start to see the repetitives of it. So I think John really is important in bringing that aesthetic. And I already asked him, like when he cut off his shirt, and I told you about that. And he goes, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And for years, people would cut off the edge of their shirts, and it meant nothing to him. It just happened to be something.
In a photo.
Just something in a photo. So without even knowing it, all of us were cutting off and having the sleeves rolled up, and it was just another old shirt to him. That's how important he was.
So you guys weren't aware of what you were wearing in these photos? You didn't care? Or did
Well, I
you?
mean, there was definitely like an aesthetic, like
Okay.
you know, and there was like, it was always like, like that sort of how to look different. Like, everybody else was wearing Doc Martens. We'd all go to this police supply store where you get these like steel-toed boots that zipped up the side, and we wouldn't tell anybody where the store was, right? Like, like literally, it's like, rule number one of Fight Club, like don't tell anyone where you're going. So like definitely there was a lot of it, and the sleeve hat thing, which just sort of come out, which is like, we told everybody that you had to like earn the sleeve. Does anyone hear the sleeve hat story? So the bottom of your sleeve, you wear on your head like a headband. We'd cut them off ourselves and wear them, but if somebody asked, you had to tear it off somebody's arm in the pit and like claim it and own it like a totem. Complete lie, complete fabrication. But to sort of your question, I was super impressed when I'd see like Earth Crisis. I was like, hey, the audience let them integrate metal, which they never let us do. B, they scaled the fuck out of it, jealous, wanting to play venues that size, and then they took branding. Like, I thought we were probably Boston was pretty good at the branding stuff. Like, they started to take it to the next level. Like, every band, like, all of a sudden there was a straight edge font, right?
Say everybody's still using your playlist.
Wow, there's a straight edge font. Okay. So I sort of appreciate the fact that it got scaled.
There's that idea, there's a lot of criticism about the youth crew look with the Letterman jackets and that kind of stuff, and it was, it's like a uniform. Yeah. But you're saying even back then, the first wave, there was already...
There were always uniforms. I remember like when I did the first Slapshot record, like I also think we kind of started the varsity jacket thing. Like, there were 5 made. I think they go on eBay for like thousands of dollars.
Do you have one?
I actually don't have one. And like to your point about the season, I think I gave it to somebody at some point, like a girlfriend or something, and I was like, wasn't there on eBay for like $5,000? But yeah, there was always uniforms, and I think they did a great job sort of taking it to the next level.
I'm gonna like kind of piggyback on what John said in the way of like, yeah, my Portal was like Minor Threat. Like my brother brought that record home, and I just thought it was cool, and I identified with the lyrics and everything. But when he brought home like Brotherhood in the back of Get It Away, that was when I was like, oh shit! Like it all tied. It was like tied together. Like there's this message and this like look. Like my brother would bring home these records, and I look at a band like Discharge, like that looks cool, but I'm 10 years old or 11 years old or 12 years old, and I can't wear like a leather jacket and like huge hair. So like when I saw those pictures, like oh, like I kind of already dressed like this kind of. I'm just a kid from the suburbs, like so it made kind of perfect sense. So that was the music, and yeah, the back cover of that is like that's my like when I think of it, like that's my dark side of the moon. Like that's like the way someone would open up that gatefold and get high and stare at it. I would just stare at the back and Get It Away and Brother. Shit, so cool. And I kind of have a theory in the way of like that youth crew look, or whatever they want to call it, is that like a punk rocker would wear like a leather jacket and spiked hair, and like it was almost like it was kind of saying like don't get near me, I'm crazy, like don't fuck with me. Which honestly, like, but that maybe that punk couldn't fight. And I think that's the same way, like, I'll be honest, in high school I wore like a Champion sweatshirt and sneakers. I couldn't do a push-up. I couldn't climb the rope to gym. So like, that's the thing is like, it was almost like a punk rocker getting dressed up real crazy, like, don't mess with me. I was like, hey, I'm dressing like an athletic guy, but I can't throw a ball. So it is sort of like that too, in the way of like, you're kind of putting up a front, well, not maybe not a front, but like you're wearing something to kind of represent, represent maybe what you want to be or what you are.
So, since we're talking about East Coast hardcore, let's start with you. Since you were overseas, what was your introduction to it? Was it the East Coast bands?
I bought 4 records that were all on the same day. Minor Threat, Day, Black Flag, and the Singles. And went home and I'd only really been listening to Crass and Conflict up until this point. So, yeah, 4 records that definitely changed my life. And then I got pretty involved with the UK straight scene.
Who were some of the bands from that time?
Um,
Do you know any of them?
You probably would. Long Cold Stare and Insight, different Insight, were the only 2 straight edge bands, and I would have in '89 and '90 I was the only shows. There was only about 20 people there, so it wasn't like a huge disparity, but yeah, I was the only girl.
Did they look the same?
Yeah,
They looked the part.
yeah,
Inside.
absolutely. Then even with the what are those things, the collegiate jackets,
Yeah.
which don't exist in England. So why are you wearing that? But yeah, they mimicked East Coast. And then by like 1991, more like Chamber Strength, kind of West Coast kind of.
Being out here, did you guys